Oh, you are a cheeky, cheeky man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Kane Sarota-Novak, and we have kind of been playing with some names. Maybe we've got the School of Legends. This is where we go deep into people's evolution of discovering their own legendary status within their own self. And today I have a very amazing man. His name is Hector Brito. He is an incredible gentleman, and we've been working together. He's one of my clients. I've understood his story, and what a man. Absolutely incredible. I love this man's perspective on life, his ability to go deep in his own essence of what is, and discover his own lessons and the things that he's learnt in his life. He has a PhD in metaphysics. He has a PhD in theology. He coaches men, and what a legendary man he is. He is the founder of the Dessert Lyons, getting men to connect back to their heart center so they can have the women in their life adore them, so they can essentially provide with power and essence and abundance for their families. This man is a freaking legend, and I'm so proud to have him here. This is my first interview back from over a year ago now, I think, since I did this, and it's certainly going to be an epic interview with a beautiful man with a beautiful soul. Hector, my friend, how are you?
I am doing very good. I am so privileged and honored to hang out with another beautiful man, because truly it is an honor to be here with you today.
Thank you, my man. So you've got an extraordinary journey, brother. And I tell you what, we've been working together side by side for the last few months, and I've digged deep inside the psyche of Hector and revealed some incredible essence of stories. Now, you're the very first belief system that you indoctrinated into your subconscious was this beautiful story of when you were a kid and your dad, who you admired and loved, took you along to meet a mate. Unbeknownst to you, what this scenario was going to happen. Can you just tell us about this moment here that pivoted the whole existence of most of your story, most of your life?
If not my whole life, the reality is that I was just a little boy. I could not have been 9 years old, because I left the United States for the first time when I was 9 years old. I was maybe 7. And we go down into this basement. I don't know what's going on. My dad's there. My dad's friend is there, and we're just hanging out like kids. And the next thing I know, I couldn't tell you if my dad told me or explained it. All I know is that gloves are being put on my hands. I'm looking at these big things that look like 2 big balloons. And so I guess I had an idea of what was going to happen, because I've seen boxing before. I'm just looking at that moment. I'm like, what's going on here? Okay. And so no rules are explained to me. And there I am, and I'm standing in this little room. There's a little bit of light over us. And this kid that I had just met puts on the gloves, and the bell sounds, and you go, and my dad says, go. And we get into a fight, and he's hitting me. I'm not hitting back. I'm just kind of taking it in. And he steps on my front toe, on my lead leg. And then he punches me, and I just move back. And I find myself falling because my foot stuck to the ground. and he punches me as I'm going down. So I rolled, get up, take off running towards my dad, and I'm trying to, grab my dad and hug him, and I'm trying to explain to him that there's something wrong. He's cheating. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. And so my dad just pushes me off, turns me around, sends me right back into the situation. I'm like, oh well, shit, I'm gonna get into this. So I get in there and I stand again, and I'm, and the whole scene just repeats itself. He steps on my toe, he swings, he punches me, I lean back, and I start to fall. This time I'm pissed. Now I've been hit in the face, my nose is running, my eyes are watery, and I go to my dad, and I'm not letting go. I'm just wrapping myself around my dad with these big balloon hands, and I'm holding on for dear life, and I'm crying. I'm trying to say, Dad, Dad. And I look up because I'm not getting the response I want, and my dad's doing this number on me. He's peeling me off. And when I look, he's like looking at the other guy, and that's when it happened. And I went, if I had the words to say as an adult now, I would have said, shit, this is bad. All I know is I was feeling afraid. I was feeling hurt. I don't even know what I was feeling, to tell you the truth. All I know is that my dad's face, when he turned and looked at me, he had shame in his eyes. And I was like, if I had the words to say, I would have said, fuck, I'm in trouble. But I didn't know. I didn't have the language. I just knew it was bad and that I was alone. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. Let's do this, damn it. And I'm like, well, I got to figure it out because I'm by myself. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, damn, this is it. Your dad's not going to take care of you. Nobody's going to help you. Dude, you're on your own. So you might as well do something about it. I go and I'm looking at the kid. I'm going, this time I'm going to bait him with my foot. Now I stuck it out there like, oh, you want that foot? You can have it, sucker. And the kid goes to step on it. And the moment his foot is coming down, I shift and I switch and bait him. Bam! I put my foot on him and I tried it. Bam! I hit him. He goes back and he starts to fall. I'm like, it's working. So I hit him with one punch and he completely hits the ground. And I just lost it. And I couldn't stop. And the next thing I know, my dad just wrapped around my waist, picks me up, flips me in the air. I'm coming down and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, I'm not thinking, I'm feeling, because I don't have the words to tell you. But if I had the words that I have now, I would have said, fuck you, as I'm coming down. And he grabs me and he's hugging me and he's, trying to be all nice. And now it's my turn. And I'm pushing off on him. And I finally get off of him. And I'm thinking to myself, you abandoned me. You left me at this situation. I dealt with it. And I don't want to ever see you again. And if I was big enough, I'd hit you with my own gloves. But I couldn't. I just stood there. Felt good. Felt good that the kid was being cared by his dad and that I wasn't the one being hurt. I was pissed at my dad and he touched me on the shoulder and I just kind of like, yeah, get off of me. So my dad, he just kind of backed off. He just stood there like, yeah, me and my son, we're good. My dad pretended, but I wasn't pretending. I was hurt and that's the moment that I realized that my dad wasn't going to be there for me. That's the moment that I said, you know what? This worked. I didn't know what was going to happen after that. But that moment, and it wasn't just the moment, it was the condition in which I existed at that time. I was picked on because of the color of my skin. I was picked on because I didn't have good English language. And so at school, kids hit me and they mistreated me. I didn't just take it. I fought back because I found a new tool that I could use. That's what set up that moment with my dad in the basement, set up the rest of those moments at school, when a teacher tried to take away my belt, when the principal tried to discipline me, when my sister said that I was wrong. And I just told everybody, fuck off, because I'm going to take care of me. And I remember leaving the school one day. Think about this. All my knuckles, little tiny knuckles, as a little boy, were bleeding And I remember just being pissed after having to fight a gang of guys, of little kids just like me. And they said, if you don't win the fight, we will all beat you. Well, I ended up fighting more than one guy that day. And there was this rage that I've never experienced before. There was this incredible sense of just being what I call today this apex predator. And I just felt bigger than life. I felt bigger than my body. I felt bigger than, like a giant. And standing in that school, and sometimes when I drive by it, I remember that moment. And they left me alone. And I was screaming, come on, Jimmy, who's next? I just, and they just backed off. And so I just walked right in between them and I went home. And, but there was all because of that one moment in that basement.
It's an epic moment like this. We all have moments that we attach to from the past that keep recurring in our own mind of, you know, why did that happen, and what was and it's a projection of someone else, right? And you've created this whole life at the beginning of your life surrounding yourself, because you went into street fighting. You became known as the king of street fighting, right?
I sure did.
You allowed yourself to really dig deep because you thought that was going to give you the success and the purpose in your life, that this was who you were. And that led you into a road of, you know, going into drugs and things like that, right? And
Absolutely.
That's another whole experience where, lead me through this, brother. I mean, you got involved in drugs, and you surrounded yourself with a massive community, even though deep down underneath you knew you were doing life by yourself. Well, that's what you believed anyway.
That is exactly right. That I did believe it. And it's amazing that through our discussions is where I discovered that how powerful the energy of a thought can be, right? Because I'll tell you the story from that victim position. You know, again, I'm 9 years old. I go to Puerto Rico. I'm home. I'm going to be with my people, no longer with all these American people that treat me by the color of my skin or by my weird accent. Guess what happened? It happened all over again. In Puerto Rico, I wasn't dark enough. In Puerto Rico, my Spanish was a little bit too much of tuned to English. And so the shit never stopped. And I got more angry. By the time I get out of 6th grade, I have fought well over 100 times. Out of 6th grade, I have been stabbed in the back of the head. I have been punctured with a nail. I have been cut on my hand twice. I have fought multiple guys at one time, and I hit the principal of that school twice. I punched 4 teachers, and like you said, what happened was kids from other districts would come to my school to fight me. Sometimes I had appointments, believe it or not, the day at lunchtime and then in the afternoon. People would just show up to fight me. And so that popularity led me down drugs, because with that came women. And with women came fast women, fast life. And so I built a community around being this fighter, this incredible badass kind of dude. And people would come to me almost like for hire. Hey, you know, I got a problem and I need your help. And so I felt that I was a vigilante of some sort. I felt that I needed to defend those girls that were mistreated and abused. And I was a bully killer. Go out and take care of business. And I loved it. I loved the popularity. I love that every time I showed up to a party, Brito's here. I was invited to parties just so I could bring crowd to the party. I was famous before I even understood what it was. And that was it was a lot of fun. But by the time I got out of 6th grade, things got ugly. Because then people started fighting me, and nobody would fight me one at a time. Now I'm having to fight multiple attackers. I'm having to people would throw bottles at me from across the street. People would come at me with knives, and I'm trying to get away from my own popularity, and it's not working. It's just not working.
So this is really interesting, like, because it kind of got set up in the whole aspect of a lack of love, right?
Yeah.
The whole that whole scene set you up into this abandonment of love, and then you surrounded yourself with people that you thought were projected. Oh yeah, this feels good, right? It's getting admiration. Yeah, that'll fill me with love. But did it? Let me ask you, did that actually fill you with love?
It just made me feel more empty, and I began to despise those that gave me the love, the women. So I became to be angry with the very women that I was using.
Boom, boom. Like, that's just a massive revelation, right? In the whole aspect that, like, there was a moment where your girl at the time, I think from memory, I think you were 21 or 19 or 21. I can't remember. Just correct me if I'm wrong. But she got pregnant.
Yeah.
You were dealing drugs. You were in this drug scene, right?
Absolutely.
And then an epiphany hit you, right? Of going, shit, tell me about that, brother, because this aspect here, the resentment of love towards women, this is super important to understand for any man, please.
It really is. And thank you for reminding me of that moment. And, there I was. So I finished high school, and now my name has gone out, and there's a price on my head. So now I have to leave Puerto Rico because I've done too many craziness, and people are looking to kill me. So I come to the United States, and all that was just a graduation, because now I moved up in the ranks, and now I'm dealing with my uncle's generation, and I'm doing business deals. I'm selling heroin, cocaine, and marijuana. I live above a bar, and I met this girl, and we started getting together, and just and all of that craziness. And at that time, you know what? I was so popular that I told every woman that I was with, I said, look, this is the way it works. I'm going to tell you, if you're going to be with me, cool, but you don't have any rights to me. And if you walk in the bar and I'm with somebody else, you just need to keep it quiet and leave me alone. If I want you, I'll go see you, but you don't come. You don't come to me. And if you have a problem with that, we are done right here, right now, because I don't need you. And so I had an agreement with any woman that I had been that I'm a free floating agent. This girl was a much more intense relationship. It's one of those, what they call flaming twin flames, where everything is just hot and heavy. She tells me that thinks she's pregnant. And I'm sitting in my own place, thinking about it. I try to give her a call, and then the next thing I know, she's not there. She's not answering the phone. And look, something snapped inside of my head. Like my thoughts were no longer mine, yet they were mine. I was still thinking. I never blanked out. I never checked out of my head, but I went into some kind of crazy automatic pilot. And so I grabbed my loaded gun. I checked it, put it in my pocket, start walking down the steps, walk out the bar. And she lives about 10 blocks away. 10 blocks is more than a mile in the United States. And it's winter, and I'm just walking. And as I walk, I keep thinking, and I'm strategizing, and I'm going, okay, well, she lives with a roommate, and that roommate has 2 kids. What if they're there? What do I do? And I'm like, oh, that's really easy. It's logical, man. You kill them all. So where do you start? Well, don't worry about the kids, because the kids are just easy to kill. So you just take out the two ladies real quick, and then take care of the kids. And then you just jump out and leave. And it was all simple. There was no emotion. There was nothing. It was just logic, 100% logic. You're going to do this. Da, 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 da. Now, before you get there, you might as well make a phone call. So it's the language I'm having is just like this, like somebody else is giving me instructions. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll do that. All right. Yeah, sure. So I pick up the phone. Da, 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 I start dialing the phone. Hey, is Kathy there? And she comes to the phone, and I said, what's going on? What are you doing? Blah, blah. And as I'm talking to her, I'm planning how I'm going to lay it all out. I'm just refining the plan. And this is the really effed up moment, because there isn't a single remorse. It's just 100% logic. She said something, and I swear to you that it was like somebody had popped a cork off of the top of my head. And I went, holy shit, what am I doing? And I just hung up the phone, and I walked back in complete astonishment of what I was about to do. And that's when remorse starts to kick in. I'm thinking, what in the fuck is wrong with you, bro? What are you doing? What in the hell were you about to do? You need some help. You better do something about this. I did nothing about it. I just got high, and I went back to being crazy. I ended up marrying that girl. And I have a beautiful son who's 35 years old today. But man,
Hector, there was a moment that you explained to me once before, and it was about that transition of going, I'm going to become a dad. Now, that sent you into making a couple of life decisions, and you entered the Marines. So tell me about that. Tell me about all of a sudden that realization, because that's what it is. Here you are contemplating the extinction of other beings on this planet, and then all of a sudden the cork pops. God's just reached down and go, boom. Yeah.
Exactly.
Idiots. Are you stupid? Let me put this thought into your head. Now, tell me about this moment where you realized that you were going to be a dad. Now, I remember the first time that realization happened to me. So explain that to me, with all of this background noise of everything going on, the chaos, right? Because you were having fun, but it's chaos, man.
Absolutely chaos. It was so chaotic that now I'm steady with this chick, right? And there's all kinds of craziness happening. I don't know who to trust. I don't know if it's her. I don't know who it is. But my buddies and my peers in the drug dealing scene are going to jail. Some of them are dying, and I don't know who's doing this. I don't know if she's a planted, private investigator, or she is just person giving information. I have no idea who it is. I don't want to think about it that way, and that's part of the piece that precipitated those thoughts, because I was taught that you are always loyal to the family. Now, the family is not my biological family. The family is the gang. The family is the group with who you of associates. That's who you're loyal to, and you will kill even your blood relatives if necessary to accomplish the mission. So that was my mindset. She gets pregnant, and she tells me. Now, I'm still involved in this. I'm a little apart from the involvement, but we're married, and she tells me this, and I'm like, what do I do now? I had to make the decision, number one, the logic decision. At least I thought it was logical. Oh, yeah, you know what? Okay, Hector, let's have a conversation. What are you going to do about this? Okay, you're going to, you have to remove yourself and you have to do something else. So, in order to protect your child. And that moment when she told me, and I just had an intuition that told me that it was a boy. And let me tell you, it was the scariest and the most fun and the most exhilarating moment to know that I was going to be a father. And I had every piece of fear boiled up inside of me that said, how in the hell are you going to do this? And how do you transition from the lifestyle that you have to the lifestyle that this boy needs and deserves? And how are you going to take care of her? And so all these thoughts are running into my head. And I had to deal with the fact that I had to tell my associates that I was no longer going to be involved in the low-level mafia, that I had to tell my uncles that I needed to separate myself from that situation, that I needed to talk, to other people and ensure that I was making at least a clean break. And don't get me wrong, that was a risk to myself, because if I said the wrong thing, my life could have ended right in that moment. And so now here I am trying to figure this out.
Wait a second. Like, this is intense. Like, seriously, this is intense. The thoughts in your own mind, the at the end of the day, it's love that's exuding, right? You're gonna.
I didn't know it back then.
No, you didn't, but that's what it's going on, right? It's this fight inside you of going, this is the love. I can feel this, and what is this? What, I'm gonna be a dad? Well, it's just a thing. Oh, no, it's fucking love, man. Here you are missing out on or misunderstanding the existence of love from that scenario when you were 7 years old, and what your dad was trying to, in his mind, what he was trying to create for you, and this loss of love in your own self, in your own existence, because you think that people that are close to you don't know what love is. And then you have this thing that's coming through, this love, this existence, this connection to another human being that is your own blood, your own soul, that is part of a woman that she needs to bear for the next 9 months. It's intense, right? And here you are trying to disentangle yourself from the life-threatening existence that you were in. It's epic. Like, seriously, I just want everyone to suck this up for a second.
Thank you for that. It really is. And I'll tell you how powerful it is in the kind of relationships that I had back then. A friend of mine came from Puerto Rico that we grew up when I was in elementary. He happens to show up in the city where I was. He asked around for me. And had I not showed up at the right time into that bar, they were in the process of walking him to the back of the bar to beat him up for asking for my name. You understand? They were going to make sure that you're a stranger. We don't know who you are. So let's give you, a goodbye party and make sure that you don't come back again. They were going to beat him, if not kill him, just because he asked if they knew me. So that's the environment, right? And I had one of those Jim Carrey moments when he's, in the movie, The Grinch That Stole Christmas. I'm like, I had a heart and it started to beat. And I'm like, oh crap, what am I gonna do with this? Because literally, I'm telling you, Kane, I used to sit at the bar when I was high on drugs and I would paw on my chest, trying to grab that emptiness because it felt so ugly. I wanted it out. And now I had to, even when you and I were talking about this, right? I kept insisting that it was not love. And you were like, hey, Hector, come on, man. Even consciously, it took me some time to realize through your coaching that, yeah, that's exactly what it was back then. It wasn't a logical decision. It was an emotional decision that I had to overcome the logic, that I had to stop acting like a tough guy, like this apex predator, and be a freaking father and be responsible and take care of the business, because I am the one that got that woman pregnant. I'm the one that's going to be the father of that child. And I don't want this lifestyle for him and for her. That's what changed. From that moment on, yeah, I became, if you want to call it soft, it's just, I became alive, really alive. That boy, and I tell him over and over and over, he's a man, and I still call him my boy, right? I feel that he was sent. And he was an angel sent to help me get out of the place that I was going to end up either in a 6x6 cell or 6 feet under. That was the only place I was going. Because of that relationship, because of that boy, I'm grateful to be where I'm at today. That's why my message is so important, because I know there's somebody out there as effed up as I was, looking for a way out and doesn't even know how to find a place.
Brother, that was intense, that you felt like there was an angel that had been placed into your existence to make you shift the direction so you could see the path that you truly needed to walk. That just gave me a bit of a tear in my eye, brother. So thank you. This evolution of your own journey, I mean, this is where, and this is why I do resonate with legends, because legends are created, right? Legends are, you have to make decisions to become a legend. You have to make decisions that end up being for the greater good, for the greater of humanity, to impact people. And when you impact your own life first, that's where the legendary status starts coming from. Like, well, are you going to man up? Are you going to step up? Are you going to woman up? What are you going to deal with? How are you going to deal with this situation? Are you going to do what everyone else does and just go, I'm not going to deal with it? Or are you going to stand up and be the difference that everyone doesn't understand how?
Right.
So for yourself, Hector, you went to the Marines. Now again, this is really interesting because you went into another community, right? You surrounded yourself with community consistently throughout your life. It was constantly where I need the community to make me feel appreciated and loved. So you went into the Marines. Tell me, how long were you in the Marines again for? I think it was 9-10 years or something.
Yeah, I was I served for 9 years in the Army, and I was so committed that everybody told me, you don't belong here. You belong with the Marines. You are so freaking gung-ho. You are just the other notch level. And so I found myself always not with my troops, not with my people, in the sense of the same people that were in my division. I always hung out with those guys that in the Army are called 11 Bang Bang. That means they are the ones that go out, and they are the troops on foot troops that are out there shooting and killing, and the Marines. Those are the people that I hung out because I resonated. And to the point where, I almost, once I got out, I almost went back in and became a Green Beret, a high elite force that goes behind enemy lines and trains a contingency. And I was slotted for it. But I loved it. See, the military fit the kind of monster that I had created about myself. I was perfect because they needed people to do what they're contracted to do, which is to kill. And I loved it. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to put it any other way. I was really good at that. And so why not do it in a place where you get paid to do it?
Yeah,
And I had this double personality. When I was in the military, it was freaking awesome. I was a machine.
so it's really interesting that you had. I like what you said, that you created this machine. You created this existence, and it's exactly what we are. I mean, this is a really important note for anyone that's living their own life and feels stuck or troubled or in any particular dark place, is that we are the creators. We create everything in our life. Every bag of shit that I've created in my life was created by me. It's my own bag of shit. And at the end of the day, the most important aspect is falling in love with that bag of shit that you created, because it's your creation of the bag of shit.
Yeah.
That bag of shit has to be nurtured and understood to be able to find the lessons
Forgiven.
of, right. Well, there's lessons in it, right? There's lessons in every bag of shit that you create. It's just,
Absolutely.
are you willing to put your hands into a bag of shit and discover what the freaking lesson was? Are you willing? Because that's truly where you discover certain answers that will give you a different perspective of your whole existence. So this whole journey that you've been on, because you're going through this whole redevelopment of self, right? But you left there. Tell me about leaving, because you're a horse whisperer, brother. You have this innate ability to nurture and connect with the horse species, and I really want people to understand, like, when all the noise starts dissipating a bit, you start discovering things about yourself that you didn't know existed. So tell me about this. I want to hear about the first moment that you discovered in your own self that you had this particular gift that connected with horses, and it started driving forward, and love, I'm going to use the word again, love, that started emanating from the very core of who you are. Tell me about that.
That is a very tender space that I I get so emotional about it, because that was another messenger. And I have a love for horses since I was a little boy. But it wasn't until I meet this one particular horse. And through a series of negotiation with a lady who was going through a divorce, she owned 70 horses. She was the owner of a bank. And so she was in the process of liquidating. She had bred this particular horse as her retirement. This is what she told me. That's my retirement. That was my retirement plan, that one horse. So the bloodlines are impeccable. They are Puerto Rican Paso Fino bloodlines. And I recognize the sires, the grandsires. I knew them by name. I had grown up with those names as a little boy. And so I said to her on a winter, just before winter, I was in Wisconsin. I said, look, I need the horse to come up here before I can actually complete the payments. I'm just starting a farm. And I gave her my payment plan and everything else. And she hangs up the phone. She said, absolutely not. I'm like, okay, well, I can't do anything. She calls me almost 24 hours later, and she says, you know what? I don't know who you are. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I gotta tell you this story before I tell you the rest. I said, okay, I'm listening. She says, I have not been able to sleep, but before I tell you that, let me tell you. And she got all pissed off. She said, I have a friend that used to work with me, and I'm a banker. And then she starts telling me her story of this, and this. I lent her my trailer. I lent her my truck, and I sold her 3 horses, and she has disappeared for the last 6 months and will not answer my calls. She said, I have lost whatever it was, over $100,000 in that transaction. But I could not fall asleep, and I have to say yes to your deal. I can't help it. I just don't know why. So I agree to your terms. You can come get the horse. I show up, make the down payment, but before I do that, I drive straight through from Wisconsin all the way to Ocala, Florida, without sleep, and I get there at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I walk up to the stall, and nobody's around. It's dark at night, and I just stood there looking at him. He felt my presence. The horses, when they're strong and young, they sleep standing. So he and just backed up. And I said in Spanish, no tengas miedo, porque lo que tú ves conmigo son ángeles. And I said, translate, don't be afraid, because what you see that are with me are angels. I put my hand through the gate of the where he was, and that horse came straight to my hand and put his forehead right into my hand. And I just stood there. And that moment was so freaking incredible. I don't even know how to explain other to tell you that I felt like his spirit went right through and just lodged inside my heart, and we became one. To the point that 3 hours later, 3 to 4 hours later, the trainer comes out and he said he's gonna ride the horse. He gets out, he says, oh, there's a green horse, which means he's not really well trained, but blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, just ride him. Just get it over with. And so there's 2 other trainers. It's a beautiful place. He gets on the horse while the horse is still tied, and the horse begins. They let him go, and the horse rears up and just shaking his head, and he's slamming his front hoofs on the ground, coming up, and he's about that close from the top of the roof, right? And he's just backing up, and so the guy's trying to control him, and he moves him around a little bit, brings him back, and gets off the horse. He says, well, you can see that at least I told you he was green, but it's going to be okay. You could just, I said, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. And he says, what do you mean it's not okay? I said, look, let me tell you something. I'm not taking that horse until I ride him, because I don't know if you guys gave him some medicine. I don't know what's wrong. He's like, oh, you can't do that. I'm sorry. This is not going to happen. I said, wait. Let me say it to you in Spanish, and I'll say it in English. I am 100% not putting liability on anybody but myself. And so I'm going to ride that horse before I take it home. I've already paid for it, so move out of my way. I get on the horse, ask him to back up. The horse just backs up. I make him turn. The horse turns. Stop him. I turn him the other way. The horse turns. And then I just started to walk, and the horse goes. And we just went around, and he was just showing off, sticking his chest out, and walking, man. I'm like, yeah, you like me, and he likes himself. And I'm like, this is horses mine. And everybody, they didn't say a single word. That was a moment that my heart, my spirit, it's not just my heart, my spirit changed, because from that moment on, I started to smile while I fell asleep. I would wake up with a smile. I lost that other creature that we were talking about, that other monster, just kind of took a park position, and something began to grow inside of me, where I began to communicate with animals to the highest level possible. And it would take me probably 3 hours just to tell you the story of what has happened to me through the communication with those animals, because I'm a different man because of that horse. He was my mentor. He was my teacher. And he died in February of 2022 after
Wow.
24 years.
Wow. Holy shit. So that was just over a year ago. Brother, how
The
did that
day I
feel?
found out, the day that I found out,
Wait,
I spent
wait a
2 days.
second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Something just hit me. Is that is that close to where you split up from that woman?
Yes, yes, yes,
Far out. Okay, so
yes.
people are just going, what? What? So tell me about this horse, brother. Tell me about this horse. Like, how did this moment feel? Because this is like a connection. This is love, right? This is a love entity. This is a family. This is like part of your life. How did it feel?
I can't talk about him without feeling everything. This horse and I were so connected, no, soul connected, that at night I would sleep and he would wake me up and call me. And my first wife would say, "Where are you going?" I said, "I got to go talk to Sueño." His name is Golden Dream in Spanish.
Wow.
And so I would go down there and I'd say, "Yeah, what's up?" And I just start rubbing him and talk, and I'd just pet him and comb him, and he would start to infuse into me thoughts. And it was true communication. He was talking to me about things that were important to him. And so he was turning me into a honorary horse, because one night he called me, and then when I was done talking and petting him, he said, "Stick around." This, I know it sounds weird to some people, but I stuck around, and then I walked out to the field to look at the mares. Right, I had 13 horses, so and it was a full moon. You should, my God, you should have been there. I wish there was a movie. It was so beautiful. I owned 40 acres. Behind it, it was 240 acres, and that's where I was nestled in. And so all the trees were in dark, and the moon was shining, and you could just see the green field like a pathway all the way towards to the darkness. Um, and I saw two horses that come together, and they parked themselves. And I'm like, this is strange. And they called me and they said, "Come join us." So I show up. I just walk, and the two horses are like almost at a finger distance away from me. And I went to step in, and they backed away. They went. So I took a step back, and they came back in. And I just stood there. I'm like, okay. And then two horses came in front of me and behind me. By the time I was done, I was surrounded by all horses in a perfect circle, all at the same distance. And if I moved in one direction, they would just back away. My job was to just stand there. I'm like, all right. So I'm just like, okay. And when they were done with me, they started to move out in two at a time. They would back away, turn, and leave. When they were gone, the other two would back away, turn, and leave. And this was just the most amazing situation. I had no idea what was happening to me, but I got to connect that to swimming with dolphins. And I got to connect that to the day that I found a horse that was dying. I think I told you that story. An incredible moment, because what happens is when a horse is dying, they make a circle. But in this case, they made a circle with their butts towards the dying horse. I was the only space left. So when I saw the circle, I knew what was happening. I jumped into the field. This was in North Carolina when I went to give a presentation. Okay, I went to give a presentation about horseback riding and training. When I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do. I went out there and I stood right on my spot at the right distance. And as I stood there, the mare took a deep breath and died. She was waiting for me. And I gave her the rights, and I thanked all the horses for allowing me to be a part of this moment. And I waited, and I was the last horse to leave, because when they all left, the one that was standing in front of me, then she started to back up, and then man, I'm telling you, it was because of that one golden dream horse. He changed my life. He taught me so much about animal husbandry and communication, and all that stuff applies to us. I'll tell you why it applies to us.
Tell me.
They are called ecus in the Latin language, right? In the original Latin language, the word is ecus. You know what that means? Like us. When they saw the horse, when the ancient people saw the horse, they looked and they said, I don't know how they figured it out, but they said that animal is like us. So they called it ecus, equal to us. And so I discovered that I am equal to them in this narrative, in that they can infuse a sort of consciousness that, man, I want to just go on and on, but let me tell you that horses are the most amazing creatures. They've changed my life in a way. They've given me the gift to learn how to love. That's what they've done for me.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
what they've done for me.
The gift to know how to love. Now, this is a really interesting point. I really just got to let everyone know a little bit more about you. You know, time disappears when I talk with people, because we go into certain aspects of everyone's lives, and we could talk for hours, but we can't, because people have lives to live. Hector himself. Now this takes courageousness. This takes love, an unyielding love from the soul. So Hector has fostered 22 children. Is that right?
30.
30 children. Sorry, 30 children, plus 2 of his own children.
And 4 adopted.
And 4 adopted. That's huge, my friend. Like, huge. And most of that time, I think weren't you kind of in and out of relationships during that time?
Yes, I was. And, you know, when I went into a transition of going from my first farm of 10 acres into my 40 acres, where I started to grow my empire, my wife went through a psychological breakdown, an emotional breakdown. And so we were in and out of relationships. She left, she came back, and that was a really a freaking ugly nightmare. Through that whole process, I ended up, you know, in a divorce. Time went by. Got horses back, and I started another farm, and that also collapsed as well.
Tell me, in your perspective, why do you believe that it collapsed? Because you've already demonstrated to yourself that you're successful at running a business. So
yes,
what in your mindset, this is really important. I really want to understand your perspective on this, because it's very important for everyone that's in business. Why do you believe that collapsed when you already knew how?
it wasn't the business that collapsed. It was the relationship. And the relationship collapsed because I was afraid to love, to allow a human. I was okay with loving horses, but I wasn't okay with allowing a woman to completely be in my heart. I reserved certain spots. And so around the industry of horse and doing business, I could make money. I was great with all of that. But when I walked inside the house from the barn, I went back to an old part of me that had not been healed. And that was the real problem. So a woman couldn't feel that she was trusted. She couldn't feel like she was meeting my needs because I was telling her with my, that's a great lover, right? That wasn't an issue. But when it came to the trust, the emotional connection, I was like, it's not going to happen. I still had this resentment towards women. And that's what really collapsed the marriage. And with the collapse of the marriage came the collapse of the business. With the collapse of the business came the collapse of my own self-confidence. And so I had to go down that tour a couple of times before I start realizing it, right? Then I had to come and meet you to really connect those pieces and go, yeah, I see the pattern. I'm a little thick in the head, but I'll get there. I get the revelation eventually.
Brother, that's anyone going through any divorce is tough. In so many different avenues, you lose not just a partner, you lose so many different other people in your life as well. There's confrontation. There's people have their own perspectives, their own belief systems. It's always very tough, no matter what stage of life that you're going through. And you know what? There's a lot of the times that breakdown in divorce isn't necessary, because some, yes, but in the things that I've seen and witnessed, there's a lot of relationships that go through divorce that don't necessarily need to go through divorce, because there's just there's a miscommunication of sorts. There's something that's disconnected in someone. There's something that's not understood. There's it's relationships are tough. Relationships and even a relationship with a horse, right? There's lessons in all of these everything's based on relationships, right? Our whole existence is the relationship that we have with self, the relationship that whatever you believe in, either relationship with the universe, relationship with God, whatever it is.
Call it whatever you want.
Everything is associated to a relationship. Even if you're on an island, right? Even if you're on an island, you will still have a relationship with yourself. And if you didn't, you'd probably neck yourself.
100%. Look, the Japanese people and the Chinese people believe that you have a relationship with a sword, to the point where even the Spanish, where you pass it on, it becomes part of the family. It has its own soul. We have relationship with everything.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to wind it up shortly. I can see the time just ticking over. So Hector, first and foremost, I want to honor you for just being here and allowing yourself to be open and vulnerable and to share your story in the legendary status of growth that you've had in your life. Now, there's one thing I want to bring up. Brother, and for me, this is just a new revelation. So there was a woman that you fell in love with. Now, the reason why you fell in love with her was because of the deep inner working that you dive deep inside your own soul and inside your own existence. And you met a woman. That exploded the love in your heart. And I've just found out that your horse, that was one of the stimulators of connection to self that you had, passed away in the time that you were with this woman. Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in understanding the necessity of letting go of the old to create the new. But this is a really big moment, and I didn't know this about you previously. So I would love to hear your take on this particular perspective of losing the horse that allowed you to connect to yourself on a much deeper level, to really understand what it was to have love, even though on the human side you still hadn't connected the dots at that point, but it was still a lesson for
Correct.
you. Yet you've met
Correct.
the woman that enticed your whole existence of love.
In an incredible way. An incredible way. Let me grab my other earpiece because this one is the battery's getting low. Whew. You're digging deep, brother. You're digging deep.
I think it's really important, man. Like, this is there's an answer in here, I feel.
There is, and am I coming across good? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, the it's not as good quality, so try not to be too loud because it'll distort. That's cool.
All right.
But we can flow
Okay.
with this.
So,
Boom.
wow. Wow. You see, this horse, I meet this lady in the most incredible way. She has horses. She has bought 12 and a half acres, and she's looking for a horse trainer. She's looking for somebody to help her with her horses. My cousin connects me to her, says, hey, here's a lady that I think you will like her, and I think I can see her and you getting together. I'm like, okay, that's good. So I interview her, and I made up a Zoom call, and so I'm trying to find out what is it that she wants. And she asked me some questions. I asked a bunch of questions of what is it that she's looking for, and then I start telling her about my horse, Sueño, the kind of horse that he is, and how I taught him how to breathe. And so she said, well, tell me about it. I said, well, it's really simple. The horse, this is how the horse does. I didn't teach him this part. I only taught him to have self-control. And so what the horse always does, every single time he meets a mare, he'll stand in front of her and go, and the mare just will squat, and then she whines, and he'll walk up to her, and he starts nibbling around her nose, and then he pushes her, and he starts his way up the side of her head, and he'll stop around her ear, and he blows into her ear. Then he nibbles around the neck. He comes down to her chest, and he pushes her he kind of punches her with his mouth, and she moves, and then she'll just squat even further down. Okay, so the horse is face to face, and he's working his way up her face, down her neck. He reaches around her front chest, right? And he's putting a little bit more pressure, and so he's rubbing, and then he comes across, and he reaches to her back leg, and so he'll stretch his snout and reaches as far as he can in between her legs, and he just takes a whiff, comes back up, shakes his head, and by the time he gets to position, he's looking at me, and he looks at me. The mare got her tail open. She's squatting. For those of you that don't know about horses, what a mare will do is she'll push out, when she's in estrus, she puts out urine that's mixed with something that looks like milk. So you'll see this milky liquid come out. It's not milk, it's just estrus urine. And he'll take another whiff, and then he looks at me, and then I go like this, go ahead. And so he'll mount her, and he does his job, and then he gets down and he'll just stand there with really proud, right? And you can just see he's kind of dizzy about what he's doing. And every single time, he will not mount a mare until she was 100% ready, because there's a danger that if she's not ready, she could kick him and injure him permanently. And I would lose $700, $750 every time he mounts a mare. That's $750, okay? So I'm telling her all of this. She tells me later, that story is what captured her. She said, you got me so freaking hot just from telling me that story. She said, I could not understand why this man is messing with my head like this. So some months go by, I finally invite her to a party, and she comes to dance. She doesn't know how to dance Latin music, and bro, I was the king of that floor that night. We danced, and I taught her how to dance, and she had a blast. And that moment, she said, I don't want to dance with nobody else but you. That was a coded message. She said, like, you're my man. And that sealed the deal. She had 3 horses, and our relationship grew overnight. And again, I'll try to make it really, really short. But you see, you have to understand that what happened is that this woman was so spiritual, we were so connected. And it was because months before I ever even came across her, I took the time to meditate and to manifest and to go up into the stratosphere and connect to the energy of who she is without ever giving her a face. So when I finish my meditation, I would say, remember my signature so that when I find you, you recognize me. And I did that day after day after day after day. And when I saw her, I looked into her eyes and I said it in my mind, do you remember me? And I know she did. And so we had this freaking phenomenal relationship. So powerful that that she says, hey, your horse came to visit me last night. I'm like, what are you talking about? She says, well, I just had this dream, and this horse, because I had shown her pictures, your horse shows up, and we were having a conversation, and then she said, oh, you like fancy words. She said this to the horse, and the horse corrected her. I said, excuse me, I am an orator. I said, yeah, that's my horse. That's the kind of language that he speaks. He was a philosopher all unto himself. And so, yeah, I said, yeah, you did. And that to me sealed the deal for me. I'm teary-eyed because that horse was my soul partner. He was my mentor. He was my coach. He was my counselor, and he was my friend. And he was telling me, this is the lady that he was with me, my first marriage, my second marriage, and this wonderful soul that I met. And we got married, me and her, okay? So she was my third wife. And so that was just a moment that really told me this is right. And so her daughter had a horse that was $50,000 brought from Germany. She had a saddle that was $5,000. And she would not allow her mother, my wife, to ride her own horse because she's like, you just don't have the skills, Mom. But when she saw me riding, she said, Hector can ride my horse anytime he wants. And that horse that she had the same spirit as my golden dream. So we built this incredible relationship, and it was so heavenly sent. And my horse passed away in February of that year, and me and her ended the relationship. I ended the relationship in April. Wow. April's coming right around the corner a year ago. April 20th. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Brother, so this is food for thought. We could probably go into this a lot deeper, but but brother, I just want to say that this is a really interesting revelation in your whole existence. The beauty of growing something and something that ends to grow something else. There's a question for you possibly at the end of this. I hate to leave it there at this, but we need to move on into the other parts of our existence. Hector, I love you so much. I hope that the people who get to watch this see some of the most legendary acts of stepping through challenges and opening their ability to connect with their heart, to be able to become a better lover, a better man, a better understanding, a better carer. Hector, is there anything you'd like to leave us with after this beautiful conversation? Is there anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, that would be the actual answer to your last question. And that is that I said that the horses taught me how to love again. But I needed to graduate with this last relationship because I wholly and completely still love Ariane, and the relationship needed to end. And I had the most incredible experience because it wasn't me identifying with loving her and that she is the object of my love, but rather that I am the object of my love, that I am love, and I can dispense from me into you. That's what intimacy is all about, the love that I have for me. Because if I don't have love, I can't give it to you. And that was my problem in my previous relationships. I didn't have enough love for me to give to them, and I was taking from them. And now I've grown up to be able to give love because I love me. That was the last lesson that he taught me before he left.
Boom. Mic drop. Brother, thank you so much. Could you please tell us where people can meet you? I'm going to go over, actually, before we do that, let me just say that, there's been quite a few comments. Sharon's been in here saying hello. Aileen's been watching. Caitlin, thank you so much. She's said, I imagine you were feeling like your trust in your father was just violated. There's been some great comments all the way through here. I'm just going to end on a couple here. Sharon said, amazing story, amazing man. Thanks, Hector Brito, and thanks, Kane Sarota-Novak, for your amazing guidance. Sharon, that's a beautiful thing to say. I really appreciate that.
Amen. Yes, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Caitlin has also said, and there's many other comments. Oh, Kat, not Kate. Okay, Catlin. Sorry, Catlin. Thanks for the update there. She's also said, not everyone has the depth for anyone to dig that deep with. Thank you for sharing the depth you have gained through this amazing experiences you have shared with us this evening. Well, for me, it's this evening. It's our pleasure. This is part of the reason why I do what I do. To get deep, brother. So this is just a beautiful relationship. Thank you, Hector, for being here today. Thank you for sharing so much of your journey. The Dessert Lyons for men.
Yes.
This man will lead you into a new understanding of what it takes to be the lover, the businessman, and the giver to your family. So, Hector, where can people reach out to you?
So thank you for that. People can reach out to me via Facebook. You'll find me also on Instagram and Facebook. You can look up the Dessert Lyons, and And you can also find me through my name. There'll be a link to the Desert Lyons. Look, wherever there is a need for a man to help, I'm in that conversation. That's what's true. I'm connected to this wonderful man, this beautiful soul, and this beautiful man as well. Thank you so much for giving me the privilege and the honor to be a part of this. And if you want to hear some more, come to Desert Lyons. We are a tribe of brotherhood where what we're doing is we're empowering men to connect to themselves, to be who they really are called to be, the lovers, the protectors, and those that can truly nurture souls.
Thank you, Hector. You're an amazing human being. Thank you for allowing your soul to expand to where it has. If I could just leave on one thing, and this would be, can you give me a quote that resonates with you in reflection of your existence?
Absolutely. And I love to say this to all the men. I say, look, to be a part of this tribe, you need to sink into what I'm about to tell you. And when you understand this, then you really do understand what it is to be a man. You can have strength and not have honor. You can have honor and not have the strength to defend everything that you consider to be honorable and that deserves to be protected. And that's why it's not strength and honor, it's strength inside honor.
Thank you, my friend. And it's right on point. Hector, thank you so much for being here. I'm still working with the name titles, so possibly the stories of legends. What did we say? The School of Legends?
Of Legends, yeah.
Yeah, so still working with that. We'll see what drops in from the universe. Hector, again, thank you so much. Anyone that's watching this, thank you for being an incredible soul and listening to these stories that creates legends. So all I'll leave you with is create your own legend within your own heart. Have an amazing day, amazing evening, wherever you are in the world. Take care.